Gender-based violence, a common human rights issue around the world today due to recent happenings in countries such as Nigeria, South Africa, Cameroon, Haiti, just to name a few. In today's debate, we're going to be touching one of such social ills titled, Does Patriarchy Still Remain the Basic Foundation for Gender-Based Violence in African Communities?
So, greetings to everyone and welcome to this discussion. We are here as part of the activities towards the 16 days of activism against gender based violence and strides to end violence against women and girls, and the actions for development and empowerment has organized this discussion so that we can bring in points. And the key or the theme of this debate is, does patriarchy still remain the primary source of gender based violence in African communities? So I have very beautiful ladies around me here. I have Farrell and Rosalie. I have here Sijuan and Velda, who are going to be giving us the points to know if patriarchy is still a cause for gender based violence in African communities. So I'm going to introduce you and bring you the ladies. So you're going to bring your points, starting from my right, the ladies who think that truly patriarchy is still one of the causes of gender based violence, before I come to the ladies on my left who think that it is not. So, right now, I'll turn my attention to you, the ladies who think that patriarchy is still one of the causes of gender based violence in African communities. And you are going to tell us why you think it is. Thank you very much.
Christian, I am of the fact that patriarchy is the root cause of gender-based violence against women in our African society. Because from time immemorial, patriarchy has shaped the society in such a way that places men above women. This results in power imbalance. When there's power imbalance in the home, it fuels abuse. So gender-based violence. So there are some men that when they beat up their women, right, and these women report cases of abuse to their neighbors or family members or relatives, and the first question that comes to their mind, the first question that they ask the woman is, what did you do that made the man to beat you? Like, I feel like the society pampers the bad habits of men because they think that the man is the head of the family. He's supposed to, if the woman does wrong, something wrong, he's supposed to correct her by beating her. They feel like a man who physically assaults the woman is correcting the woman for a wrongdoing, which is wrong. Instead of the society to ask a woman that, what did you do that made your husband to beat you up? They are supposed to ask the man, why did you beat up your wife? Because I feel like this patriarchy has given men so much power that they place superiority over women. Women are supposed to be respected. We are not denying the fact that men are the head of the family, right? Men are the head of the family, but they are supposed to treat their wives as human beings. They are not supposed to place themselves like, since I'm the head of the family, whatever decision I take stands. Listen to your wife when you are taking decision. She may say that, daddy, I'm against this decision, it does not go well with me. Listen to her instead of showing power, showing your superiority power against this woman by beating her up. So I think that patriarchy really is a root cause of GBV against women in our African communities today.
Thank you very much, Velda, for such a wonderful point. And being the only crowing here, I'm beginning to feel emotional to think that there will be points here that are going to be against what I think. But I'm going to give the floor to the ladies on my left who think that patriarchy is not the cause for gender based violence. And I'm going to start with you, Farrell. What do you think about patriarchy or the causes of gender based violence when it concerns patriarchy?
Yes, patriarchy contributes to GDP, but evidence shows that nowadays patriarchy is no more the leading cause. And I will briefly explain some of these factors. First of all, we have poverty and money stress, which play a huge role. In many cases of GBV in African communities, we found that it mostly happens because of financial pressure. The World Bank notes that 40% of people living in sub-Saharan Africa live in extreme poverty, hence leading to increasing household crisis, household stress, and this easily escalate into violence. For example, a man who is stressed from unemployment will easily take out his frustration on his partner, and this often happens. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fayo, for that wonderful point, showing us that it's not only about patriarchy, but the economy can also cause men to perpetrate such violences on women, and especially employment, like you mentioned, unemployment. So that makes it very, very common to have such violences on women because men, a man who is unemployed gets stressed and then he's frustrated about something else and he's throwing out the violence on the woman. So I want to thank you very much for that point. And now I turn back to the ladies on my right who are still on the point that patriarchy is one of the causes of gender-based violence in Africa. And I'm going to turn to you, Sidi. Now tell us why you still think that patriarchy is one of the causes of gender-based violence.
Thank you, Mr. Christian. As you said earlier, I'm still for the fact that patriarchy remains a main cause of gender-based violence in our communities today. So, as I rightly said earlier, patriarchy is all about dominance of men, oppression or exploitation of men over women. So, I'm going to be touching a point which is in most patriarchal communities, women are not allowed to own land, which is they're not allowed to own land or even have rights to land. And because of that, women are dependent on men, and this can often lead to violence in the home. Because when a woman is not empowered, when she doesn't have something of her own, she will definitely be dependent, and this can cause domestic violence. Okay, there's even a study by SEPA Cameroon that says that presently in Cameroon, Bororo women are facing difficulties to own land in Cameroon. Sometimes there are some of these women that even go through the violence. They go through domestic violence in their homes, but because they don't have that financial independence, they don't have land to cultivate and even or use that land and do something that will bring them finances, they can't leave their partners. But if we encourage land ownership rights for everyone, we will therefore curb gender-based violence in our communities today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Sidi, for such wonderful point. You mentioned land ownership and dependency of women on their men, which is obviously patriarchal and it's one of the causes of gender-based violence. I think that's a very strong point, and that takes me back to my left to the ladies who actually think that patriarchy is not one of the causes. And I'll be giving the floor to Rosalind. She is going to tell us why she still thinks that gender-based violence is caused by patriarchy. So, Rosalind, tell us what you think.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to present my point, Christian. Like, I love being part of this debate. I would say this is really a great honor, and it's always a pleasure to share knowledge among ourselves. And meeting this great mind, like, yeah. So, I would say patriarchy isn't the primary cause of GBV. Because when we talk of patriarchy, we forget there are also matriarchal communities. And we need to ask ourselves the question, are there GBV cases in matriarchal communities? If yes, then why should patriarchy be termed or charged for the foundation of gender-based violence? So, I think patriarchy is just an easy sheep or easy target to just call out in most communities. But what I would like to say is we need to understand the historical context of patriarchy and gender-based violence to be able to bring out if patriarchy is responsible for that or not. So we have many scholars who have come up and they have brought up good studies on the fact that patriarchy isn't the cause of gender-based violence. Like City here spoke about land tenancy and ownership that is only restricted for women, causing them to be financially handicapped and leading them to be dependent solely on their abusive partners in most cases. But we know from research, colonialism brought that. It's not patriarchy. So let me explain. During colonial times, the colonial masters, in order to subdue the African communities, came forward and they were like, okay, let's use the men, like the men and the people who. So they brought up a Western patriarchal system. Because in Africa, we had strong and powerful women. In our African communities, condoms, chiefdoms, we had strong positions that were not just ceremonial positions, that were held by women. And they were respected for that. In the Northwest, you have the Tapu, they were very powerful women organizations that are recognized today. So why would we say women were silent? Colonialism brought that. But we wouldn't say colonialism is an origin of GBV, but we are saying we need to understand where some certain ideologies came from. We need to deconstruct and decolonize our minds when we are handling issues to be able to offer the services needed and respond to that. So, and going back to the points raised about abusive nature of women, I would like to see that comes as a result of weak in regulatory institutions. For example, it's not all masculinity that is negative. There's positive masculinity, there's positive patriarchy, and there's negative patriarchy. And on the positive patriarchy, it's referred to by many scholars as the benevolent patriarchy. That's a patriarchal system where the man is seen as a head, where he's seen as a protector, provider, and he has to ensure the well-being of his family, not be a perpetrator of suffering. So why would we take the bad seeds and portray it to be? And an example of this benevolent patriarchy is the patriarchal person the Bible speaks of. So the man has to be like Christ, and Christ gave himself for the church. So a man has to even give up to his life to protect his family. So why will you be a perpetrator of violence if you have to ensure the well-being of your family? So I think this comes as a result of weak institutions. Not we don't have strong laws in most African communities that fight against GBV. Like in the Western world, we have strong laws, and it limits that because everyone knows the consequences of their actions. But when there's no law, everyone takes law for themselves and they do what they want. So I just really feel like patriarchy, yes, has a certain, to a certain extent, has influenced GBVs, but patriarchy is not at the origin of GBV, like gender equality, the Cameroon context and not the African context. Because we have matriarchal communities like Ghana, Ivory Coast, we have matriarchal communities even in Cameroon here, we have matriarchal communities, but we still have records of gender-based violence. So why should we focus on what has proven not to be the sole cause of gender-based violence? Why should we focus on that? We should instead seek to the roots and build our institutions stronger as well.
Okay, thank you, ladies, and we've had really beautiful points of why patriarchy is considered as one of the causes of gender-based violence, and the ladies on my left who really think that patriarchy should not be seen as the cause of gender-based violence. The points are really beautiful, and especially coming from those who think talking about matriarchal communities, even in Cameroon. I think even so from where I come from, founded by a woman called Gonso and all of that. So I really love the point, and I want to thank you, ladies. But still, to open the floor for discussions, and I'll be turning back to Velda, who still has points to say that patriarchy is still the main cause for gender-based violence. So, Velda, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Christian, for the opportunity, for the floor to speak again. And I just have a question for Farren. Farren said that when a man is financially stressed, it fuels violence in the home. So I just want to ask that, is financial stress the justification for violence at home? Like, does it really justify violence in a home? Because I believe that there is no justification for violence when you are angered. Whatever action that you take is to be blamed. Like, nothing can push a man, nothing should push a man to an extent of beating up his wife.
As my fellow colleague rightly said, poverty or financial frustration can never, in fact, it can never, according to this thing, can never be a reason for gender-based violence. So we are trying to ask people kindly, can it be a reason? According to, should we allow men to use poverty as an excuse? Please tell us.
All right, thank you so much for that very powerful question. But this question reveals a certain lack in our society. I'll explain. Financial stress that goes to mental well-being, that is psychosocial care. Africa hasn't exploited their psychosocial facilities and programs. That's why in Africa right now, there are some certain things that may seem like a joke and it should not be. Like, people are not free to express themselves anymore. People no longer have safe and brave spaces where they could express themselves. So the only way and place that they can express themselves is at home and through those ways, because they didn't teach them any other way how to express themselves. For example, if we had psychosocial gathering, proper community-based support systems, where we have gatherings where people who vent, people who come and have brave spaces, talk about things, and people are free to express what they feel. I don't think maybe they'll be transferred aggression. They'll have another way to transfer this. For example, we have in the Western world where they have community groups, support groups, and so on. Most of the gender-based cases are really very slim as compared to Africa and Cameroon, where they have, speaking helps a lot. It helps you to relax, it helps you to get over things easily. Okay, if I'm facing this, I have a body, I have a friend, I have someone I can go to. But here, what will you go to? They'll be like, be a man, man up. Just be a man. You're a man. And now he carries that burden of being a man, and it gets on him, and they weight it too much. And what will he do? He too has an issue. He has a problem that he's not seen in the society, because if he shows his issues, he's seen as a weak man, and his masculinity isn't really at its top. So being a man and being masculine, he has to just impose himself in the only way he's so growing up. Because we need to understand that our society is victim of reproduction of trauma. They saw it from their families, their parents, from the neighbors, and we are in a community society where the neighbor's problem is your problem, and everybody shares their problem. There's no longer that kind of privacy. So what happens there? You could easily copy it. So we have those are results of unhealed young boys, men that have young boys issues, and that's a sign of trauma. That means the society needs to also, we need to help our men to show for the positive masculine side. They should know how to handle this, and they should know it's okay to cry. Most men in Africa think it's a taboo to cry. Crying is a natural something. They should cry. They should vent. They should relax. In an African community, like, are you the first? So those are the kind of things that it's not normal. We aren't saying it's normal, but we are trying to say it's not because of patriarchy, but we have other sources like trauma. We have reproduction of trauma. We have weak psychosocial support systems in our communities that now amplifies gender-based violence. And we shouldn't forget that gender-based violence isn't only physical; it's also verbal and mental. So we see that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And if we want to stop gender-based violence in our community and reduce it, we will not only work with the women and be like, no, we need to work with the men. Because there's also one thing you guys forget to understand. The point you're bringing up is very good, but we need to put ourselves in the context. We are from African descent, and African descent has its Afrocentric ways of approaching things. we will not just approach it in the black way because black links to the black Americans. But we are from the African descent that we have our cultures and our norms. And from those things it intertwines. Like the man will be like, okay, like what she just said, they'll ask the woman, what were the things you said to him before he beat you up? In the African community, this will retaliate. He'll be like, I have to keep my position as a lion in this house. I'm the one, I'm the man. And when you want to be like, no, you cannot provide for this house, yeah, useless. And those kind of words, so that's also abuse. And we could also see it as a gender-based violence because he's also being abused there. So now, who are we defending here, and who is the victim, and who is like we see that everyone is a victim of weak societal institutions. So I just feel like it should just be rigid, and everybody should just be, because now when you see that you know there's what we call Olympics of oppression, where we weigh oppressions. We say, okay, this is more than this. We should focus on this. But no, oppression should be handled simultaneously, or else the community will be fragmented. So with that in mind, we need to bear that yes, patriarchy isn't negative. Patriarchy has a good side. We have African women here who like they cannot agree to the 50-50 Western world society. Why should the men provide, pay the bills, do this? But now you accept that side of patriarchy, then you reject the other. I believe in life we don't accept
What
we don't accept we convince.
What do we reject?
You reject compromise and partnership. Because if you believe that the man should have the sole responsibility of managing his emotions, that means you're putting aside the partnership and social contract issue. Because in the society, we need to, you are because I am, that's Ubuntu. So if you are because I am, we need to be able to adjust ourselves. Okay, if I notice you have this weakness, I should support you. If you notice I have this weakness, you should support me. But it shouldn't be that I should bear the burden completely because I was born as a man, I didn't ask for it.
I have a question for you. Women are helpers, right?
That's what the patriarchal community
in.
say.
That's what the patriarchal community says, and it
Yeah.
says that the man should take care of the home, take care of the home, like they pay the bills.
Yeah.
What does the woman do? The woman takes care of the children, takes care of the home, cooks, cleans, washes, right? Gets pregnant and gives birth to children. And if tomorrow the man is asking for 50-50, say that the woman should bring 50 and I too should bring 50, the woman has the right to tell the man to share chores with the man.
Okay, that's where we have a problem.
Yes.
That's where we have a problem. You know why? We are from African descent. And I said our approach should always be Afrocentric.
Yeah.
You know there's African feminism, there's Afrocentric feminism, there's Western feminism, there's black feminism, there's Afrocentric feminism. That says it's a nego feminism. You negotiate. We negotiate because you said if it has to be 50-50, that means a woman too will have to share the emotional burden the man carries. And you can agree that in your couple, but how will you agree that in the community? Because the community already sees it as African culture. The man has to do this, the woman has to do this. So you see, we can't import something and just put. It's going to cause more wars than resolving wars. Because right now, if you get into the 50-50 system, that's a Western, and they have the facilities, they have the infrastructure for that to accommodate those 50-50. The man does it, the woman can do that, and so on. But here we don't have the facilities for that, and we are still very much rooted in identity. So I think the issue to reducing gender-based violence and even eradicating it is not using a one-shoe-fits-all case. We should always address case by case. That's the best intervention program, case by case, and we should not always try to colonize our minds. We should decolonize our minds. We should accept ourselves who we are. We should first start by loving ourselves. We can't love another community and hate our community. No. We should first of all acknowledge and recognize that patriarchy has its place. Patriarchy has helped us to evolve. Patriarchy has led us to where we are. Yes, it has some holes. Let us look for ways to fix it, not paint it black and trash it. Because when we trash identity, we will have another issue, identity crisis.
We are not painting patriarchy black.
Yeah.
We are painting the bad side of patriarchy black.
Okay.
The bad side of it that does not favor women.
Oh, okay, the bad
That
side.
pampers the bad characters of men, especially men who beat
That
their
massage
wife,
their ego.
and they see the society at times see beating as correcting the wife. You understand? Those are
Yeah.
the aspects of patriarchy that we are talking
Yeah.
about, the bad aspects of it, because the main perpetrators of gender-based violence are men. They are the
Excuse me,
perpetrators.
well, I'm not cutting you short, but I have a feeling here that we are concentrating more on the physical violence on the women. Meanwhile, the period of 16 days is about violence on women. It's not only about physical violence, there are other violences.
Yeah.
There's even digital violence nowadays,
Yes.
and many other forms of violence. So if we're looking at the patriarchal role, the role that patriarchy plays in gender-based violence,
Exactly.
let's not only look at the physical violence
aspect
of a man beating a woman. Let the violences really
Exactly.
be spread. Let's be talking in general terms. Let's talk in general terms, and I think if we go like that, it's going to be more meaningful to, especially during this period of 16 days of activism.
Okay, taking off from you, Christian, what you said is really, really pertinent because I don't want it to be. I feel like, as you said, it was shifting, it was drifting gradually to physical violence and domestic violence, whereas we have other aspects of patriarchy that truly affect women.
Yes,
And that will lead me to my second point, where I'm going to be talking about communities that still carry out female genital mutilation. There are still communities that carry out child abuse. There are communities that even still prohibit women, like widows, from inheriting their husband's properties. Those are patriarchal systems that have been built up to like oppress women, and we need to get out of that. We need to get out of that sincerely. Like we have a recent research that has been carried out in Gokitunja division in Cameroon, this 2025, that says that widows in Gokitunja are being oppressed. They cannot they cannot inherit their husband's properties. They are either forced to marry their in-laws, or they are either being chased away, and they go through a lot of physical, psychological violence, all of that. As you said earlier, there's also that psychological trauma that plays on them going through all of this. So I think it's not all about physical violence. We can really concentrate on other forms of violence and equally encourage, or maybe bring these things out there so that people can see that no, there are patriarchal societies still in Cameroon. Even in the far north, we all know that female genital mutilation is still carried out there. We have a lot of research on that. It's still carried out there. So those are the aspects that we need to be touching to even bring awareness to people that these things still happen in Cameroon and in other African communities. And we need to talk about this and seek solutions for these problems. Thank you.
That brings me back now to that very point. You see, I'll come back to you. During these 16 days of activism, what do you think you can propose as a solution to these particular points that you're bringing? You see female genital mutilation and all the other forms of violence that you've mentioned. Do you think that you can propose even an activity or two that can go to help this situation or make it better?
Okay, I think my opponent here, she mentioned earlier that there are some laws in place, but they are not, like, there are regulations being put in place that are not implemented. So I'm calling on the government to actually look into these issues. When civil society organizations try to bring up these forms of research, they go to communities and try to do this research, let's not only let it be at the form of paper, let's try to put them, like, bring them to the National Assembly, discuss about them. Like elections now, we know that regional elections are soon coming up. Those are spaces where, okay, we are voting for this person. This person should be somebody from our community, or during municipal election, this person should be somebody from our community that can truly represent our voice, can truly talk about these things, let me say at the level of, even at the level of the assembly, national assembly and all of that, so that our voices can be heard and these problems can be solved. So I'm just calling on the powers that be to look into these issues. They should read this research. I am very sure that civil society organizations often deposit their reports at the various ministries concerned. But even if they don't, it is now at the level of the authorities that be to look into the issue and even try to make sure that the regulations they've already put in place are actually working for the good of those communities.
Understood you guys should correct them. You guys are bringing up patriarchy, we are bringing up other forms. We are saying, okay, it's true, we are not denying patriarchy is there, but it shouldn't be the only focus. In order to eradicate gender-based violence, the focus shouldn't be on patriarchy. We should look all of the other issues that cause gender-based violence.
Yeah, we understand.
Yeah, we are
That's
not.
why we are for and we are against.
No, I was just being clear. I was saying that there was a certain.
No, we're just, it's
See.
just a debate. We're not taking it serious.
I'll ask you a serious question.
No, don't.
I'll ask you a serious question on camera. Because they must.
Don't.
Okay, ask.
Okay, now I turn to the ladies on my left who are against patriarchy as one of the causes of gender-based violence. And just to say that I watched images on TV this morning. They were showing ladies as part of the 16 ladies standing up against gender-based violence. A few days ago, a month ago, a lady was killed in Douala. And the guy was in court just last week, and they sentenced him to 5 years and to pay a penalty of 52,000. And so the ladies were asking, is 52,000 francs worth the life of this lady who was your wife and has given you kids? You see? What do you think about this? Is it saying that Cameroon is considering men better because is Cameroon looking at men as a better gender or this patriarchal system? Is it something like that? Because if they are charging a man to pay just 52,000 francs for such a crime, beat up your wife and she's dead, and you have to pay that. What do you think about that?
Okay, Christian, I'll just really say this. That's very, very sad that in this age and time we see all this kind of things going on. And we like when you look at the court setting, we have majority men. The judge surely should be a man. We are not saying this, but we should get to the point that there's something they call in marketing. I don't know the name is just like it's just escaping. But what we show to the people, I'll take an example in the 13th Sultan of Fuma, the celebrity, that she ruled only for 30 minutes. Like when you get to the Bamun community, you look at their history, their lineage. There's a lady there that was a sultan. She ruled for 30 minutes. Why? 30 minutes, sorry, because she decided to hand it over to her son. But you see, there was already an image, and today there's already space, there's already vacuum that a woman can be a sultan. A woman can have that means a woman has a place in the society. And when you check the Bamun cultural frame, the woman has the woman is really like sacred. Yes, we will not say there are no issues, there are no exceptions, but the woman has like the place. So what I'm trying to say here is, I think our community is suffering from uneducation. They are not informed because we have the valorization of the male gender, even unconsciously. Even in like we have cybernetic gender-based violence done right like now. But when you have the sex tape leaked, for example, people will not go after the man. They will go after the woman. Reckless woman, she has done this, she has done that. Alright. But when we say it is fully patriarchal, that comes from the individuals. And most of those people, when you check, they are educated people in quotes, like people who should be well informed more than even the others. But we have these issues. The judge is an educated person. He should be well informed. He should know these things better. But that's why we are saying that aside patriarchy that has its own weaknesses, we have other strong factors that influence gender-based violence. We have weak institutions. In Cameroon in particular, divorce, when it's a woman that is filing for divorce, it's so costly because of how many when it's a woman. And it's really there when it's a woman. And there's this term they call like trial period, they just give you guys. Yes, it's longer when it's a woman that files for divorce than when it's a man. So you see, even as systems are built to massage gender-based violence, they are built to encourage kind of like we don't have proper regulatory systems that already cause people to be better.
So people don't really see being better as an option. Why would they be better if they can be whatever they can be and you will? What is 52,000? 52,000 I still be raised.
Like another man can say that even if I beat you and kill you, I'll be only 52.
Yes, it can easily be raised and case go nowhere. Yeah. Like the next day he will see and he will go and pick up another girl, maybe from the village in a quarter, and he will continue his life, but the lady is dead. The children will suffer, and the children will grow without reproduction of trauma. And the children will know already, because those children already know that the system has failed. Yeah. So the men, if she has male children, the male children will know, okay, the system has failed, my dad this and when you I can do it too. The women now will know the system has failed. I can only protect myself. So now they are more vulnerable because they know there's no system to protect them. They are their own protection. So they'll need to seek into other coping mechanisms that maybe may not be healthy, but just to maintain themselves and continue and to just take care of their family. So I just feel like the institution and a lot of things, massage gender-based violence, not only patriarchy. Yeah.
Is there any regulation like on digital violence, all these sex tapes, and any regulation at all? Any idea?
Yeah, I think ART has that. There's a regulation on social media and yeah, I think ART, I don't know the full appellation, but there's something like that. We have that.
Agence de régulation
they regulate social media as well. And I think they have all those regulations put in place, but
in theory.
Yeah,
in theory, that's what I was about to say.
It's not
because
really,
why will we still have cases flawed? Like we had a case of I think 4 or 5 months ago where a Nigerian senator, Senator Natasha, she was suspended and she later on retaliated when she was being harassed by the honorable, I think in the hierarchy, the person that tops the senators. And she was being harassed and she has proved. She proved everything and the man just simply suspended her and the case went nowhere. She tried as much as she could, they tried to stop her to get to her constituency. You see all those barricades were placed for her, but her husband stood by her side, they tried to do everything, but the case has died down. We don't know we still have communities like that because we have weak regulatory and we have weak regulatory system and follow-up systems. Yeah. Laws are being put in place, or maybe regulatory systems are being put in place, but they are ineffective. Because I think a proper regulatory system was supposed to follow that up. We have the case of even Cynthia Fianga and even other people, that it should be followed up. We have the case of this lady, she's called online, I think the Ghanaian lady is Diamond Queen or Queen Diamond.
Even the Diane Yumbu, there was one woman.
Yes.
That was Yumbi or Yumbu,
yes.
Something like that. Yes. If not of civil society that even woke up and said, no, this case we
She's the one I'm talking about.
Okay, she's the one I'm talking about. The 52,000. If not of civil society that woke up and said, no, it's impossible to let someone go based on 52,000 when he has killed someone.
And I think even the civil society have constraints because civil society NGOs work on funding. To a certain extent, they don't really have that autonomy to really pursue things to the end because they are kind of still dependent on funding. So the government who should maybe take responsibilities over its system should see into that. We have a ministry for social welfare. We have a ministry for the protection of the women and the family. What are they doing? What are programs put in place? When the national budget is being elected, how many percent goes to that? Like, we have things that are just being amplified and it leads to wars, and the society keeps on. Like, we have institutions, we need to have follow-up institutions. The people need to get back their sovereignty, and even getting back their sovereignty, they should be aware that women are also human beings. Women are also people's children. It could be your wife, it could be your sister, it could be your daughter. So when you're doing it to one, you're doing it to all. So we need to have systems that implement things and work exactly as it is. Because in Cameroon, in particular, I feel like our systems are so intertwined and so influenced by the ruling, the state in place. Let me put it that way. The executive. Why? Because we have a community whereby even network connection is being controlled. Yeah. So how are things going to be effective? And they are being controlled by dominant. How many women are ministers? So that's the image that
how many women are even governors?
Yes, and
there's no governor in Cameroon that is a woman.
And who even key ministerial posts? Because it's easy to say, oh, the minister of protection of women is a woman. It's easy to see that. But
Yeah.
key positions that influence change
That's
and impact the community. So that's what I was trying to refer to the marketing system. When we show the people, that's what they reproduce. So the Cameroon population now already has that image indirectly. So subconsciously they already know men dominate and should dominate. When they see all these things online, they will just go with a normal trend. Even some women find themselves victims. Because what you see, they always say what you see often, you become. So that's what they see, then they become that way. So I feel like as society we need to work on our institutions. We work on the psychological representation of the female figure in the African society. And we also work on our psychosocial support systems. We shouldn't only wait for things to escalate before we try to bring solutions. We should also work on preventive measures. That goes to the psychosocial support systems and other community-based frameworks that should accompany the society to heal, because we have a lot of trauma. And it's not only patriarchy that has
Yeah, so I can say that as women, the system is failing us. It has failed us. So we need to look for a way to survive. Like, that's why I always encourage women to empower themselves before a woman gets into marriage. It's good that it's either she gets a job or a business. When a woman is empowered, she can take care of her bills and she can walk away from abusive relationships. Yeah, so that woman had the choice to leave, but she didn't, and she died while being with that man. If that woman would have been financially empowered, we don't know if she is, but it is very difficult for a financially empowered woman to be in an abusive relationship. It's very difficult.
She was financially empowered. She was even the one who owns most of the property that the couple had. She was. But what I'm trying to say here is what you said is very true. But women should be also allowed to express their emotions to love someone.
Yeah.
So what the community or what the government will do to help us? I can love Christian. He may be the way he is. But if the community or the society has strict regulation that even my love is protected, because I can love him, but he knows that he cannot abuse me because of regulations. So now when we see women show, those are negative coping mechanisms. Because now women are no longer expressive. And when something is true, you explain one day. And
You speak up.
Yeah, and the explosion will not be
not stay silent.
So we need to have positive coping mechanisms where the citizens are not left by themselves. They are being accompanied. The women are not left by themselves. They are being accompanied. Men to cry out. The little boy watched his mother die. He's crying.
As you said earlier, we need to have systems that women can easily run to. Like in each community, if we have a system in place where a woman can easily, if she's facing gender-based violence at home or domestic violence, she can say, no, if I run here, I'm going to find help. And that's it. If we
The
have
Ministry of
such,
Social Affairs is there for that.
it's not really community-based.
Yes.
I mean, like community-based in the way that if I run to this office, I will have a solution and the issue will be treated. Yeah, but if it's just in Yaoundé, in Bamenda, like in each capital city, it's not really going to help.
And also
most
feel
of
like
these,
even the civil society needs to work on the law.
yeah, most of these cases of gender-based violence is mostly in rural communities, like in the interior.
Yeah.
So if they can have like, hospitals, the way hospitals are, if you even have those places where you can do psychosocial trauma healing and all of that, and also assist them, like if they go through gender-based violence, can easily run here. It will be easier for women to speak up.
Wow.
The society stigmatizes women a lot. When a woman is being raped, for example, and she speaks up, like she feels ashamed to speak up because of societal stigmatization, because society will judge you like, really? You were raped? What were you doing at that time in the night? What were you doing there? What were you wearing? Society should come up to support women. Let's support each other. They should support women. So yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, ladies. I think that this is really beautiful. I don't know which side to go on, but I think that gender-based violence is one of the ills of society that we need to fight with all our might. And so we've had really wonderful discussions. I don't know if anybody has closing words, or I'm going to give an opportunity for everybody to say a closing word, and then we end this discussion like that. So I'll start from my left, and then I'll come to the right.
Alright, for closing remarks, I just gender-based violence has claimed a lot of lives, and it's still claiming a lot, and it's damaging a lot of communities, a lot of families, breaking the society. So I feel like this is something that should be addressed and addressed properly. So we shouldn't use a one-shoe-fit-all intervention strategy, and we shouldn't pinpoint oppression. We shouldn't be victims of the Olympic of oppression, saying, okay, it's this one, it's this one. We should address everything simultaneously because the goal is to eradicate gender-based violence. It's not to point accusing fingers, but it's to eradicate it. And when we stop pointing fingers, we are going to address whatever the perpetrators are or encouraging gender-based violence in every form in the best way possible to eradicate them. So.
Thank you very much. Hi, Farah.
So to conclude, I would say that patriarchy, yes, is contribute to gender-based violence, but we should not forget about those other leading factors. And as a solution, as a practical solution, we can also train the police to know how to handle this GBV in local communities.
Thank you very much. We are closing, lady, because of gender-based violence. Final words.
I have an advice for my ladies out there who are going through any form of abuse. I just want to say that it's good to speak up when you're going through any form of abuse. Don't stay silent. There are so many women who have lost their lives as a result of gender-based violence. Please try and speak up, seek help, and you'll be supported. Thank you.
Great job.
Okay, to conclude, I would say gender-based violence is a human rights issue that everyone should be worried about. We all, be it women or men alike, should put all hands on deck to see that this societal issue is being treated, women are protected, so that they can reach their full potential. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just to say that this is Action for Development and Empowerment, ADE Yaoundé, and we had this discussion as part of the activities to end violence against women and girls in the 16 Days of Activism campaign, which is Orange the World. And if you can see here, we have orange cards here showing that we are saying stop to gender-based violence in all its forms. Okay, so we are closing this wonderful edition of debate, talking about patriarchy as one of the causes of gender-based violence, and ADE is doing this as part of the activities to end violence on women and girls, as part of the 16 Days of Activism Orange the World campaign. And thank you all for giving me this opportunity and for talking to you ladies. And then to say that this is Christian Shofula signing out in ADE. Thank you.
ADE says no to gender-based violence.